this video is basically for the two-door Bronco, and there's a ton of videos online that basically show you how to remove the trim and do the plug-and-play harness, which I have in. I would say plug-and-play was one of the more difficult things to do under the dash, but there are tons of videos out there, so I'm going to skip all that. I'll just stay with some of the things that I did specific to the two-door as well, and just give you a few of the mistakes I made. I decided to go with the Hertz DCX 165 3 for the kicks and the rear pods, which I basically did with the Mabett upgrade, and then I did the 4-inch Hertz, and then I did a kicker 8-inch in the sub, and I did the 2 kicker amps, 200.4 and the 500.1. So like many others on the forum, I went with the 8-inch sub, the kicker sub. I had to definitely Dremel out to make that fit. I kind of used the Dremel and just the sand attachment and got lucky. I didn't really cut through there, but I will say on this one you can see where I definitely have a few breaches where I kind of came through. Not many though, wasn't too bad. So basically what I did was just took some of this Permatex with the tip, and I just kind of filled it in and did whatever I needed to do. And then at the same time, I did put some kill mat. I just shoved it behind there. Actually, I think I shoved it behind here and here, and just for a little extra added protection. So the next thing we need to do here is remove this pocket, and we're using a 3/8 Frostner bit, which just essentially goes right in here. And that's how that works, just like that. All right, so after we've drilled out everything, the pocket just basically comes right off, no problem. And I believe we probably need to, I think we need to cut this out as well, so I can try to find a replacement speaker grill cover that we can put on that. All right, so I finally found a speaker grill. Actually found it on Etsy, and fits perfectly. So what I decided to do, I got the Mustang logo. It's got like a little raised logo, but it comes basically in just the regular plastic without any color. So I went ahead and I got a multi-surface premium oil-based paint pen. I did it in white. I was thinking of red, but I decided to go white. Take the top edge of that, running along the logo, and it actually comes out pretty good. So, I mean, in terms of all of the speakers, pretty easy. There's a lot of things online to show you how to get those in. But I did put in the Mabett, or the Mabett, not sure, speakers. But now I have a two-door. So the directions weren't very good for the two-door, but just a heads up. The bracket itself doesn't look like it fits exactly, although, you know, it's pretty good. Not too bad. I think we have a little bit of a gap, but it's pretty tight. What they won't tell you is I have the Best Top mesh top, so when you bring these straps around, you need to make sure that, you know, you have a bolt long enough, because the bolt that you have doesn't really fit. They give you these spacers for the two-door, and so you'll need to buy about a 2 3/4 inch bolt that can replace the bolt that's in there to make up for that lost space. The other thing they tell you to do is take out this clip that is on the other speakers, the stock speakers, the speaker boxes. I didn't do that because this clip doesn't even reach. All right, guys, so let me show you what I'm doing here. So definitely ran into a problem with positioning the 501 sub amp on the two-door Bronco. I don't know if the four doors are the same or not. this was the first bracket I made, and I just positioned it straight on there, like, you know, like so. And unfortunately, doing that, we were hitting right here. So I figured, okay, I'm going to toggle that. So the number 1 is the angle I used, and I thought I definitely had it. So I wired up everything, and I thought I did a pre-check. So that basically went like that on the number 1, that angle, which is about 45. And unfortunately, when I was putting the panel back, I was hitting it here and scraping it all the way into here. So somewhere in between, let's say here and here, there's probably a sweet spot. So this is my 3rd try, the 2nd one on this particular bracket. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to have to go like this, but I also believe that it's going to have to cover one of the mount holes on the sub. So I think we're only going to have to go with 3 mount holes, tighten them, and all right, so I think I figured what I need to do here after a bunch of tries, like 5 of them. So this is going to come down. I will definitely lose this bolt. I'll also lose the ability for this to toggle. So, and you know, there is some play in that, so I'm going to take a little bit of kill mat, and I'm just gonna put it behind here and just let that go like that. And then behind the actual bracket itself, I think I'm going to go ahead and put another piece of kill mat back here, just so there's no vibration there as well. So anyway, that's the plan, and then hopefully I can get this panel back in. Alright, so today we're kind of finishing up the power wire that runs through here. I put this trim back already. This, we just took this up, this comes out, pushes out this way, and then we just took this away from the back a little bit while we could snake behind it, and then took that wire and just ran it all the way behind here under the carpet, and then snaked it out through here and took it all the way across sort of right here, and then popped it out over there. So it'll probably go in here, should be good when we trim it up. So I think the wiring is pretty much done. What I had to do here, because I lost my ability to toggle this corner in, so I just took a zip and I did it around this post just to take this corner and tighten it up. So I think that's pretty good. I put some Dynamat around this here and then behind it. So I don't think I'm going to get a rattle. That's pretty solid. So I went ahead and also got the bass knob, the kicker bass knob. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just plug that in, run the wire along the same ties, and then bring it over to that harness, bring it all the way down and follow the harness to the amp, and then all the way to the front, and then which brings it down the same path as that, and then up into just basically following the signal wire for the amp all the way behind this dash. You probably won't be able to see anything in here, but it basically just tucks right up in here. Can't see it. And then this little trim panel that comes up, I'm gonna tuck this excess wire behind it. Knob comes off, obviously, so not a problem there. I'm wondering if I can just route a hole through this trim panel and maybe just mount it like right in like this area here from the back side. I mean, so essentially what we're talking about is putting this trim panel here and then putting a hole and mounting this like right here. So this essentially would just, the knob was all you would see. This would be behind it. And I'm thinking there's enough room there, and it was a tough one, but there's your bass knob dial right there. But this should go right on here, I'm thinking, if I did this right. And that should be the bass knob without a problem. So I went with pretty much what everybody else did, which was mount that 200.4 kicker under the steering wheel. So looks like it's pretty good, no issues. And the kicker amp and the 200.4 as well as the power line for the 500 just went through that firewall. I just cut a couple of slim T's with a little X-Acto knife, and wasn't a problem. Ran the wires along the side where I basically ran some of my other wires for my ARB, put the fuse in there, and then I got an inline fuse that I put in as well for the kicker. And that all worked out pretty good, and just attached everything to the positive. Okay, well, everything's hooked up, and the battery's hooked up with the power, the fuse. That's the final look of everything wired up, kind of strapped in. But you do need to remove that signal wire that's kind of wrapped up there, because the magnet, when you put back the panel, will hit that and it won't work. When you do put this panel in at the end, it just doesn't, it keeps popping out. So I put some super glue around the edges, and I put these zip ties. So what you can do is, when you're putting in the panel, if it comes loose and you kind of put the super glue in, then you finally get your panel on, you can pull these tight until that super glue sets. Everything's in. That panel was hard to get in. This on the 2-door. I don't know if the 4-door is the same way, but you really need to, take the trim tools and work this plastic and try to bend and mold and do whatever. But we finally got it back in. There's one little trim piece back here that goes back here, and because I put these protectors on, I don't think I can get it on there unless I take the top off. So maybe I'll just hang on to that and do it at a later date. So I used ForeScan, which basically changed my settings. I originally had the 6 speakers in that I put in without too much of a problem. And I changed the ForeScan back pods to from tweeter to tweeter speaker. And man, it sounded really good. So I'm saying, if you want to save about $500, you probably could just stick with 6 new speakers and change that setting, and it sounds really good. You get a huge punch. Clarity is ridiculous, so it's really good. I went ahead and installed the 204 up front. I tuned that. It sounded pretty good. Then I did the sub in the back, and I tuned it. With the settings that I had it through ForeScan, the backs were really providing too much input. I mean, I was getting match gain lights right out of the chute. So, and I was getting a little heavy bass. I couldn't really tone it down to where it integrated into the soundstage. It was more about just kind of overpowering a little bit, not too much. So I went back and I changed my ForeScan settings back to the original stock settings, and with the B+O EQ, which is flat. And then I ran it again. And the bass in the back definitely lights, and it gives you more of a range of what to do with your bass. And it kind of, for me, took it down to where it just kind of made it a surround sound, sort of integrated in with it. So tuning was definitely a big deal. So shout out to all the guys on YouTube, Ragnarcon, and man, there's a bunch of them that really have already gone through this process, made videos already, and I watched those, and I bothered these guys, and I asked a ton of questions. And so shout out to those guys, man. I couldn't have done it without them. Really excellent job. So thanks. I encourage you to go on YouTube, watch all of those first, and then kind of follow along what they did. Maybe mix a couple of mistakes I made here, and good luck with the install.